Hello everybody, welcome back to BSG 33. I'm Captain GMV, your new host. Up next, we have Sniperwave. He's ready to play some Valkyrie. Sniper, take it away.
Thank you very much indeed, Captain, and welcome everyone to Valkyrie Profile, Covenant of the Plume, a slightly forgotten game in both the series and for the 3DS in general. We'll be going through things very quickly, so can I have a countdown from Tech?
3, 2, 1, go.
Memes! Alright, so this is Valkyrie Profile, Covenant of the Plume, a tactics game released for the DS in kind of late for its life cycle. For the people familiar with Fire Emblem, it is quite comparable. The main difference being the combat system that is very prevalent in the series of Valkyrie Profile, which has two other releases, actually both done on the PS. So just to start off, we're just going through a shortcut scene, which we can skip by pressing the start button, because this is a good speed game after all. Taking us right into a prologue fight, which basically teaches us the way in order to do these fights. And to start off, we're not going to use two of our characters, because they're level 1 and the other two are level 10, so they kind of just speed through the game. So this is basically... The way combat works in this game is every character has a button assigned to them and a certain amount of attacks dependent on their class and or weapon. Mages are the only one who will always have one attack, and every other character will have attacks based on their weapon, which gives them 1 to 3 attacks. Now for the first few chapters, most of them will remain the same. And later on, you'll see me change some orders around, make some funny combos, and just do a bunch of good stuff. So this is kind of the first bit of RNG in the game. This wolf can randomly cost me 30 seconds. There's nothing I can do about it. And he didn't, so first 30 seconds saved. Let's go. So the thing that's happening right now is you can engage an enemy, and every character that is in range of that enemy will also be joining you on that fight. Meaning you can use multiple characters to fight one another. Now, enemies that are in range, when you engage on another enemy, will not show up, but it will work vice versa. So if, say, those two enemies would be in range of the same character, they both would be in that fight too. Another thing to note is right when you enter a menu, the first few frames you can actually not make an input and have it register. So you'll see me wait a bit before I select anything. And that actually gets a lot more annoying later on. We're mainly just leveling up the main two characters. The two we are actually using, Hugo and Gwendol, are only used for these fights. They're counted as guests and will leave us at the end of this fight. But yeah, another mechanic to explain in this game is AP, which is basically the bar you use for everything that is not attacking. So that can range from using an item to using a special ability to using a spell. So this ghoul here, it'll always attack Hugo. We actually had the character set up in such a way that he would attack from the side, wasting 30 seconds randomly, but after some quick routing, we did find out that there was an alternative, which you are seeing now. And I guess I can get into the history of this game a bit and why I started running this. And that actually, this game started all the way back as a quick route game on the SDA forums, where multiple runners had a few days to just route a game and run it and just see who gets the best time. Now, from there, Claude got a 2:16, I believe, where sadly in the Twitch VOD apocalypse it did die. But a man named Dragondarch had a run that was only 1 minute slower, and from that VOD I actually learned to speedrun this game, since there weren't any strats of this game out there. And when that happened, I had a person in my chat who actually told me that your route's kind of bad, but I know a way to do it better. And I kind of just called them out on it. And from there, we just started routing this game until the point where it is now, where we are just under 145. Yeah, a bit of the overworld here. Like, there's a few menus in this game that you'll see. Most of them are either shopping menus or pre-combat menus. You also see me saving time to time because this game is very, very unforgiving. Where it gets bad to a point that a single input yesterday on a no reset cost me just over 8 minutes. Just to put things into perspective. So in order for that to not happen again, I actually do have my notes with me just to be safe. And this is also the first instance where we do have two characters next to an enemy, and since they are both in range, they can fight the character at the same time. Now, a thing we're using is we're trying to get a specific attack to hit the enemy last. So every attack has a certain duration from where the attack connects and the enemy starts despawning, which I'll refer to as despawn timers for the rest of this run. A few of the attacks we'll use later on, you'll notice that it takes a while. Notably, knockups tend to take a few extra seconds every time. Now, it might be minor, but over the course of this game, we'll actually be killing about 150 enemies. So you can see it add up real quick.
Can I interrupt you for a quick donation? Can I interrupt you for a quick donation, Sniper?
Oh, yes, you can.
Alrighty. We got €5 from the one and only Satanic Nerd. He says, good luck, my dude. See you in a bit. Well, we're waiting for you, Satanic.
Also, audio guy, can you put the host a little bit up?
Looks like we will's come a long way.
Well, so what happened in that fight is you saw me stun the enemy. Now, there are two ways in this game to stun an enemy. The first of which is attacking him from behind, and the second one is knocking him out of the air after doing a knock-up yourself. Now, what a stun does is that it drops a red gem, and what a red gem does is it gives you an extra attack. And the chances of red gems, the first is guaranteed, the second is half, is like a coin flip, and the third is a quarter, and every subsequent attack has a 10% chance of dropping one. We'll see a little bit of that mechanic later on in game, where it might actually like save me time. So right here, same as the last wolf, we'll be attacking him twice with Ansel and once with Wilfred. And the last enemy that actually connects will cause the voice line at the end of the fight to play. But the last attack channeled will determine the despawn timer, is something I found out very recently. So Wilfred was the last person that channeled an attack in the last fight, but Ansel did get the final hit in. So this is the last bit of the second prologue fight. These fights are fairly straightforward. They're basically just to teach you the ropes of the game. Also got a quick despawn there, which is nice. Sometimes that kobold just takes a while to despawn. And yeah, that's the end of the second fight. Yeah, now we're basically surrounded by enemies we cannot kill normally, so we'll have to invoke the Destiny Plume, which is the main mechanic of this game. The Destiny Plume not only is your way to sacrifice characters and speed up the game, but it also determines the ending you'll be getting. And in this game, we're going for the worst ending, and we're only doing that because using the Plume is kind of fast. For reference, the best ending right now is at 5 hours. But I've only done one run, and the second best ending where we get to use the Plume just a little bit is about 3.5. And this game, as you can see by the 2-hour estimate, is just a bunch faster. But yeah, pluming a character multiplies all their stats by 10 for the rest of the fight, kills them after that fight, and gives Wilfred an ability he can use only once per battle. And this one gives us Volley's Awakening, which doubles all our stats temporarily. And we'll be using that a lot more often in the game. This also notably the only plume that is forced on you, since there is no other way you can clear this fight. So we'll be ending our turn here. There's no way for us to get in range of the demon, so we're just gonna have him approach us and we'll kill it later. And with later, I mean right now. Yeah, this is also a nice case of me oversampling a bit. So I did think I had it, but I was in the short time frame where I couldn't get my inputs in.
All this fighting works up an appetite.
Which also kind of ties in with how unforgiving the game really is. So both having that delay before being able to do anything and missing inputs costing you 8 minutes, you can kind of see how iffy it could be to run this game at times. So I'm actually going to make the first save here by something I've recently discovered, which is that this game can be kind of very frustrating at times. There is a random chance for every enemy to crit, and if they crit one of the characters twice here, it's just over. And since we haven't saved yet, I don't want to go back to the start. Like, it's extremely rare to get that. Also, this is a tutorial on how to earn Sin, and we're kind of just skipping through it, so I'm just going to explain it myself. When you reduce an enemy's health to 0, you'll see that it says overkill on the bottom of the screen, and it will start filling the meter up with purple. Now, for every percentage of health you deal to your enemy, right after they hit 0, you'll get 1 Sin, and every level has a different Sin goal. And what Sin gives you is certain rewards after you have cleared the fight, and those happen in 3 tiers. So if you get 100% of what your goal is, you'll get the first tier. If you get 150%, you'll get some extra rewards on top of that, and the same goes for 200%. Now, if you get under your goal, you'll get punished, but we'll get back to that later because we're actually going to use that in the route. So this run is kind of a delicate balance between actually getting enough Sin and making the fights happen fast. And this is kind of also the reason why I made the save, because we already had 1 crit happen, and you could see she is like very close to death. So I was originally planning to go into the story of the game, but I decided against it because if you haven't played this game yet, please just do it just to enjoy the story. This game's story is absolutely fantastic between every ending. But the main gist of it is that Wilfred's father has died in battle, was taken by the Valkyrie to join her in the afterlife, basically. And now Wilfred's kind of like a mad teenager because he thinks that the Valkyrie killed his dad. So he's kind of on a quest for vengeance. Now in this ending, we'll actually be fighting the Valkyrie. In the other 2 endings, the final boss is kind of a big spoiler material, so I won't go into that. I do apologize for teasing, though. But yeah, this is also a marathon safety strat, one of the few we actually use. So normally we would be killing the mage with Sharifa there, but as you can see there, the soldier has a small chance of stunning you, and if he stuns you, the run is just straight up kind of dead. So we decided against it, and since the mage has a knock-up, it'll automatically cancel your stun, meaning that this route is now 100% safe. It only wastes 10 seconds, but even for beginning runners, I would recommend doing this. Also, you see me get the Viking sword here. That thing isn't necessarily mandatory to get in this fight, since we can get it at the shop later, but it is ever so slightly faster to get here.
Can I interrupt you once again for a donation?
Yes, you can.
Alrighty. We got a 88 euros anonymous donation, which completely met the 1001 Spikes Beat Stage 2 for blindfolded category incentive. So I want to thank you for that. We have some more incentives coming up for Rayman, and that's I know it's a pretty hard level. It's the first level, but the complete first level blindfolded by Vextera and Cronky. So I mean, if you want to see more blindfolded or not see because you're blindfolded, I don't know how it works. But if you want to see it, just donate for it. Just 54 euros more to go.
Yeah, something you'll see me do is just mash buttons right after an enemy dies. So enemies actually have voice lines in this game too, and pressing A just cancels that voice line and will cause the despawning to actually start. Which just saves a little bit of time. So yeah, since we didn't get the Viking sword, we don't really have to shop here. Would we not get it, we could just buy it from the shop by mashing A. After like 5 or 6 input, you have the sword and you can leave the shop and you're fine. This also coming up is one of the more risky fights. Back at Annual, I kind of lost 5 minutes here due to having a really low roll that I actually didn't know could happen. So we're just going to take the extra caution and save here. Right after I actually discovered a small backup strat that makes this in routing a lot easier. But yeah, this game is rough. That's all there is to it. This fight also notably has 2 paths depending on what happens on the first enemy. Before that fight, though, we will be using 2 Ambrosias to raise Wilfred's max health. It's not really relevant in this fight, but the enemies actually target the character with the lowest health every now and then. And since Wilfred, it really shouldn't be the target most of the time, we kind of just really need the 200 health on him. So this enemy is what it's all about in this fight. If we crit here, this route will completely change. But we didn't, meaning we get to do the easier and more consistent route. Not entirely sure if it is faster. In theory, it should be about the same, though. Also to note, I'll actually be attacking with Sharifa here first, and that is due to getting Sin requires the enemy health to be at exactly 0. So even if it had 1 health and you deal 100, it would just go to 0 instead of minus 99, for example. And Sharifa's attack is a lot weaker, meaning we can get a little bit more Sin out of this guy. So right now we really can't do anything except for getting absolutely pelted by these archers. So if Captain has anything to say, any donations, any bad puns, then he can just go right ahead.
I mean, everybody says glitching is cheating. And, well, not everybody, but some people say glitching is cheating. You know, Rikult is literally gonna cheat in Goat Simulator if you donate for it. It's 50 euros. There's only 26 euros already have been donated to it, so only 24 euros more to go if you want to see Rikult cheat.
Cheating? In our Christian marathon? No, just kidding. You really want to see that. It's the only way to really make the category all missions, I do believe. Don't take my word on it, though. But yeah, you saw me counter the Archeress here, and the reason we did that is that we actually need to lower our health just ever so slightly so we can kill her on this hit.
What did you expect?
Another thing is we got some flare gems from the last fight for getting 200%. Now what gems are basically one-time use fixed damage spells. And as it turns out, for this point in the game, that fixed damage is just enough to kill any enemy here, aside from the boss at the back. So we're just going to use those to one-shot a few enemies that are barely out of range. Won't get any Sin from it, but it's just a lot faster to do it this way. Also, can we pour one out for the amazing OST in this game? To note, this game's OST is a complete overhaul of the second game, Silmeria, which was released on the PS2. But I actually kind of prefer the remaster over that. But that's all up to taste. Both of the orchestrations are just really good. This was also one of the few moments where you can actually see the aggro range of the enemies. So a few of the enemies in this game actually have a certain range from where they will start walking towards you. And this enemy notably extends a lot further to the left than the other one does. This should get me enough to do this entire fight. Also, you saw the Soul Crush menu pop up there. So in the meter on the bottom left, there is a small combo meter that goes from 0 to 100. Now, once it hits a full 100, you will actually be able to use Soul Crushes if you have a compatible weapon. Now, what those are basically one-time use, very powerful attacks. I say one-time use, but it's really once per fight. And they're kind of busted, really. You'll see us use a lot of those later. You'll see us chaining a few as well. Okay, so we do get an extra tier of rewards, which is going to mess up my menuing ever so slightly. It's not that bad to get it. It's just that a few of the inputs I just cannot do by muscle memory anymore. And yada yada, unforgiving nature. You know the drill by now. Yeah, the advantage of having Sharifa right behind Wolfred is that the archer's range is one higher than the mage's. So when he engages on Wolfred, we'll actually already have Sharifa in range, meaning we only have to move him forward. Yeah, the early game really isn't that active in terms of gameplay. It's really Chapter 2 and 3 where the game kind of starts firing on all cylinders. We'll be using a few item exploits. We'll be using some very interesting interactions.
Not bad if I do say so
And we'll
myself.
have a bunch of tight routing that can go very wrong depending on what the enemies do. Oh yeah, we should be fine overall. Like, the start to the run is kind of really good. But yeah, as we kill Loxwell, which turned out to be the leader of the assassins that was chasing Sharifa at the very start of Chapter 1. Turns out to be our father in true Darth Vader style. But yeah, they both kind of betrayed the assassin band, and they're basically one of criminals now. So they're just going to join us because they really have nowhere else to go. And that is how we are going to get our party together. And that's kind of the last bit of story exposition I'm going to give you, because everything from here is going to be a split path. And the overarching plot is different per chapter. So there's about, I want to say 4 or 5 overarching chapters, if you want to include the last one. So we're actually going to choose Hroof Walk, or whatever you're pronouncing that combination of letters. We're also going to save again. I don't know what it is. The more time I play this game and the more I do no resets, the more my runs randomly die to things I've never seen before. It's a really weird thing. Yeah, a lot of it just comes down to improvisation, and a bit of it just comes down to not being a dum-dum and doing your inputs right. Yeah, we're basically just adding 2 people to our party right now. And what we're going to do is actually lure 2 enemies to Wilfred, because not only does Vali's Awakening double our stats, it also makes sure that it provokes all the enemies in the vicinity. And by giving him a Might Potion that we got from the last fight's reward, on top of that, we actually do get to kill them within the retaliation directly. All right, didn't get stunned. Perfect. We get to continue the run. Amazing. So what happened, I think, was 2 days ago. I got stunned twice here, which is, I think, a 1 in, I want to say 6 or 8, just by numbers alone. It's kind of awkward when you get stunned twice, because there's really no way to recover properly, because the movement's really tight. Like, you cannot miss a single space on a turn without, like, losing multiple minutes. Okay, perfect. Yeah, we're actually going to try to not get 200 sin on this fight, because we kind of want to get punished. So what getting under the sin gold does is that it spawns a Realm Stalker on the next fight. And Realm Stalkers are kind of interesting enemies. They'll be replacing one of the regular enemies you'd see, but their stats are kind of really stupid high. So there's no real way for us to kill it properly. Now, something that's really good about the Realmstalker in the next fight is that it replaces a mage. And what that means is that we can actually sneak past due to abusing its AI a little. Because it'll think like a mage, move backwards to the range of a mage, and it will be out of range for my character. So there won't be any engagements on us, and we'll be able to just sneak right past them and kill the leader from there. Now I'm also going to knock on wood real quick, because there is a very, very slim chance. Like, I've seen it happen only twice in about the 300 to 400 runs I've done, is that the Realmstalker will actually walk to your party and attack one of your characters. Now, if that happens, that's a direct reset. But I'm going to just take the chances to save 30 seconds in order to not have it happen. Like a 1 in 200, it's like, it's whatever. Actually, I'm gonna just... Please, game, don't do it. Don't do this to me. But yeah, next turn we're going to manipulate the AI a bit. So I was talking about aggro lines earlier. Now, 2 spaces from where we are standing right now is where the line starts for this bat. And if there's only one of our allies that crosses the line, that is his only target. So by only having Darius cross that certain aggro line, Darius will be the only thing that the bat can home towards. So it'll move 4 steps down, as you'll see right here. And having the bat in that position makes the fight on him really easy. See, I was talking about the second method of stunning, which was knocking things out of the air. Now, this is where Darius kind of comes in. Darius has a one-man combo knockdown, making him one of the more busted characters in the game. And half of the reason why we go through this path. So this path is technically about as fast as the other one, but the benefits we get from Gwendolyn and Darius are just too valuable to skip. It's kind of a shame. I really do appreciate the other characters as well. And since this is a manual choice instead of having an X amount of characters Plume, it's kind of a shame we don't get to see the other characters in the other endings. Now this fish is also kind of annoying. There is no way to manipulate its AI, so you cannot... If you are in range, he will go for you and he will actually attack you. There's no way to bait him outside of the range.
He is kind of fishy like that.
This guy. He really just went there. Wow. I'm not disappointed, but I'm also not mad.
I got baited, man. I got baited.
Yikes.
You just lured me right into it.
The end of that.
I feel trapped, dude. It's like I'm caught in a net. Yeah, let's just cruise right through here, since we're on the ocean puns anyway. You know what's kind of funny? Like, researchers actually thought that the Mariana Trench was the lowest point on Earth. Turns out it's Captain's humor.
Welcome to BSG, where Captain's humor is at all-time low. You're always welcome to visit. We're in Alphen on the Rhine. Please come. Sniper needs help.
I'm stuck with this guy, man. How am I supposed to cope? But all memes aside, I actually do enjoy the puns quite a bit. Keep them coming. If you have any good...
I mean, it's just a play on the words.
And it's kind of a pun, right? Also, if people want to donate with their favorite pun, yo, go for it. Hit me up with your worst puns, chat.
Sharifa, you are all that matters to
Yeah, that bat actually is like one of the most annoying enemies. About 1 in 10 runs, it'll just float over the ravine, costing me a turn in a minute. I don't know what causes it. I wish I did. But it's just a bit of the AI being random and annoying. This bird right here is, in a minute, will be the first instance of us actually using the Soul Crush. Right after this stun finishes, because that's going to take a while. Now, we really are flying through this game, aren't we? Yeah, the Soul Crush is also kind of the reason why we wanted the Viking Sword. So in the fight with Loxwell, right before this one, if we got a crit, there's actually an enemy where the only reason, or the only way to get enough Sin, really, is to use the Soul Crush on one of the enemies. So that's the main reason why we want it. Like, the extra attack is fine, but we don't necessarily need it. And we got very much under 200 Sin, so we should be fine here. Got like 80. It's also technically faster to get the lowest amount of Sin, just to get through menus earlier. So if you get more than 200 Sin, she'll actually have an extra pop-up with all the items you receive, and you can go from there. But since there's no items to give, she's just going to say that the gods are kind of disappointed in us because we're being a bad covenant.
That would be a great name for the next Billie Eilish song.
We're also going to buy 11 ways of dashing. I mean, you say gotta go fast, but having free extra spaces of movement is honestly kind of nice. Just to make sure. Yeah, there is indeed no menuing. For some reason, this fight specifically, with the way the Realm Stalker works, actually has been changed a bunch of times. So let's hear it for the 1 in 200 guys that didn't save, so you know what's going to happen, right?
What are the odds?
What are the odds? Well, let's find out. Survey says... oh boy. All right.
You'd hate to see it happen.
You hate this. Wow, my voice cracked there. Nice.
Welcome back, Nandi. Nah,
yo, you hate
kidding.
to see it, dude. Yeah, so I didn't expect this to happen, so I didn't have notes on this. So how about a quick donation?
Wah, wah.
Womp womp. All right.
All right, but if you really do need some time to focus, I can talk for some bit right now. I mean, I can tell you about us. We are the Benelux Speedrunning Gathering. We organize bi-monthly gatherings in the Benelux for speedrunners. I mean, it's in the name, come on. We're currently streaming from the esports game arena in Alphen aan den Rijn, the Netherlands. We raise money for the Dutch Cancer Society. It's a nationwide organization committed to fight cancer while aiming for more cure and a higher quality of life for those already battling the disease. All of your donations will go to the Dutch Cancer Society.
Yeah, that def is kind of intentional. I just like memeing around with that. It is actually intentional because what we get to use is the Union Plume. And what the Union Plume does is that it can revive a fallen character. But what the developers kind of missed is that it doesn't account for the height difference. So normally you wouldn't be able to cross that wall. But we can actually Union Plume Sharifa over and give her the 10x stat boost, meaning we just get to skip all of this fight. Also notable is that we do not ever aggro the sorcerer, so it just ends his turn, and he's just done. It's like, well, you just kind of killed everyone. I didn't get paid enough for this.
What did you expect?
This fight is one of the only item exploits we get to see, sadly. There used to be another one all the way in Chapter 5 at the very end of the game. But there used to be... We found a strat that's kind of faster. So it's kind of become a stealth mission instead of a glitch fest. Also, Sharifa is dead. Crab emoji. And before next fight, I'm also going to save because there is a single pattern that legitimately is run ending unless I hit a 1 in 800 chance. And it really is a 1 in 800. I need to hit the guaranteed one, the coin flip, the 1 in 25%, and 2 1 in 10s in order to actually fix it from there. There's also a bunch of menuing involved before that, but it's not that bad. It's one of the easier menus in the game. I say as I'm going to mess this up, knowing myself. Wait, this is Natalia. This is the boss of this area. The menuing in this game kind of like devolved to rhythmically tapping, and rhythmically tapping correctly. So because there's the few frames where your inputs won't register, it becomes really awkward to mash in the menus in this game.
I never miss.
Also, this is kind of a really weird voice line. If you have any idea how you can miss a dash, please let me know. I have not a single clue.
You can stumble.
I mean, is that missing, though?
You missed your target.
That's fair. We'll take it. Also, we did get the good pattern, so we're good in that regard. So we always survive here. The worst thing that the Brigand can do is use Sap Power, which takes away 20% of the attack stat of one of our characters. Now, this is only a problem when he hits Wilfred, because Wilfred has the stat doubler, and when it is slightly reduced, we actually don't have enough damage to kill the boss in one go. Also notably, getting Sin here really isn't relevant. The last fight of each chapter will not punish you in the next with a Realm Stalker, so we can just kind of go through here. Let's hope we hit this one. Perfect. Okay, so Natalia's an assassin class, meaning she has the highest base evade stat, and that comes into play more often than you might think. Now, we do have 2 shots of hitting her and being fine. If Darius misses it knock-up, I can still knock her up with Loxwell's Firestorm and knock her down with Darius that way, even though the window is a lot harder to get. Yeah, the main gist of it is you stun her, you hit her with Wilfred, and she falls over. And that was the fight. And that was the entirety of Chapter 2, so yay me. But yeah, Natalia's kind of dead. And Gwen and Darius, again, have no place to go because they've technically defied their orders by not killing any of the main rebels, so they're also going to join us. So we'll be returning back home, watch a cutscene, skip a cutscene. This cutscene here is in the land of the gods, basically. And if you see that cutscene, you know you've swapped endings. So by using a Plume, we actually moved down to B ending, or on the B path. If you would have used the Union Plume twice, you would have actually gone on the C path and gotten different characters. But as it turns out, the B path is ever so slightly faster than the C path, and the characters you get on the B path are also slightly better. So that's what we do. That's what we do here. So we're going to buy a few items here before we move on. So what we bought is a better staff and a bunch of spells to teach our mage. And we're going to be killing some bugs, because the lands are also overrun by demons. And this fight is one of the few fights where we do want a 200% Sin goal. And the only reason we want that is for an item that we need in the next fight. So this is where the clutch routing comes into play. So what we're trying to do is get into as little shops as possible while getting the most rewards that we need as possible. And that's optimized to a point where we only buy armor for one character later on, because that character will be the only one in risk. Also, we'll be having Rosia as a guest for now, who is the Saintess of a nearby village. And the reason we want her is because her attack is a knockdown, and combined with Loxwell's Firestorm, that will actually generate a stun. Now, the weird thing about it is that when that hits, it actually won't always animate the stun. Meaning that you'll see the character like knocked down, but you won't see the birds flying on top of his head, denoting that it is stunned. But it is a really neat trick.
Hey, Sniper,
Yes.
can I have a moment of your time?
Okay. Oh boy.
Yes. Due to new contracts that are in place with Twitch, we will sadly have to interrupt you for only a minute. We're gonna sadly have to put up some ads. I'm sorry.
This is kind of a filler fight anyway. It's not like they're really missing out. It's a pretty good moment.
Don't worry, they won't be too ad. Nah, that's too far. Sorry. Let's just put that ad in.
Yeah, but you know what you can do to not have ads? You can use your Twitch Prime token right here on the ESA channel and support both BSG and ESA at the same time. Oh god. Why am I paired with Captain?
For the easy plugs.
But also a funny thing about fights in general in this game. Something we've discovered over time is the less we use Darius, the faster the route gets. There's two kind of downsides to that. One of them is that Darius' hit stat won't level up as much because he's missing out on XP. The other downside... Oh my goodness. Why did it take so long to despawn? I didn't even know. But the second part that it does is that it kind of lowers the consistency by a lot. And this fight is kind of exemplary for that, because the only reason we use Darius is to have him in that specific location to draw aggro from the second beetle. I really kind of feel bad for Darius because it is like a really good character in terms of its abilities. It's just... Oh, he's kind of weak. And using less characters is just faster. Like, everything on this run is on a really fickle balance right now. Also, I really should be paying more attention to Sin, but I do believe I did get 100 on the last two, so I should be more than fine. Yeah, we got 24 here, so I will be doing extra attack. The next beetle is technically a range, but I'm just going to do the extra attack. We get it for free anyway. It's not that much of a time loss. It's pretty all right. Like, a lot of this game is learning when and how to improvise too, so... Like, you can't always have the same patterns happen every time. Like, the AI have a certain bit of randomness. Your rolls are random. Crits are random. Thanks for that one, game. And by combining all those factors, it's actually a really interesting run to do. For people that are also interested in running this game, there are notes out there for every single ending in the game. We do have a Discord that is linked on the speedrun.com page of this game too, so if you feel like learning this game, joining or anything, like, feel free to just have a talk about it. Everyone is more than willing to help. Do need to save here too. There's a lot of fights that just hinge on not hitting a 5%, and I'm kind of like anxious that I'm going to hit one eventually. This fight also notably has one of the most forgettable things ever. Because we will be pluming another character, but we need to might reinforce it. And that character takes its turn before the other one. So we kind of swapped some equipments around just to increase the stats of Gwendol a bit. We gave Wolfert some extra magic due to most of his plume abilities, including the one we got from Sharifa, which is the mass paralysis, are actually based on magic attacks and your magic stat. Now, Wolfret actually also has the magic stat growth of a mage instead of a normal swordsman, so he's a lot more likely to hit them to begin with. But extra magic power turns out to just help a lot in the long run. So we're just going to mass paralyze everything that is not the boss, because that one is immune to Gleipnir's bonds to begin with. And now we hope the armor is paralyzed, which it is. Perfect. See, at least a lot is the one we only need to take down. We don't really care about the rest. Also, this is the very forgettable thing. You don't want to walk forward with Gwendol right away. You do actually need the Might Reinforce. Now, if you dash forward, it isn't that much of a problem because you can send Loxel right after him. But it's just not okay. It's such an annoying time loss. Also, the audio tends to kind of mess up here, which is really nice. You'll hear it.
Feather o'er the battlefield. Unto me thy power yield. What's happening to me?
See, you kind of hear the character stutter. I don't know why it does that, but it sounds amazing with the thick Scottish accent underneath that. Also, a really big advantage of everything being paralyzed that it really doesn't take any time to just run past them. Like, they won't have their animations go through, they won't fight you. It's just a really bit of smooth sailing here. So yeah, boss fight right here. Kind of a joke because we do get the Plume, which is kind of a get-out-of-jail-free card of sorts. It really just is impossible to die with a character Plume. The stat increase is incredibly stupid. Now, if you somehow manage to not use the Plume from a fresh file, then you'll get the A ending run. That one's really interesting. There's just points where you are kind of brute forcing a pattern in order to continue. There's a lot of routing that is still going into that. B ending kind of has been rerouted recently, and I'm actually looking into improving the world record pretty soon of that one. Also, what happened in that quick exchange between Rosia and Lisa Lana there is both coughing probably, but Rosia tried to save Lisa Lana there, and Lisa Lana didn't want to have any of it, so she kind of just killed Rosia and joined us in our conquest. Now, Plume and Gwendol gave us the ability Veyer's Warcry, and yeah, that's kind of busted. So what that does is it gives every single one of our attacks the sudden death status, and what that does is reducing the enemy's health to 0 from where it currently is, and it's really fast. And this fight is probably the perfect showcase of it, because we will be one-shotting every single enemy that is here. Which is also why we pick Roof Path. Like, not only is Darius a really good combo initiator, but we get Gwendol for sudden death, and the combination of those two things is an incredible time save, to say the least. Now, a funny thing about sudden death is that it's also based on your magic stat. And right now we are with 2 mages, so you can kind of imagine how easy it is to proc it. And Wilfred also, with the stat growth of a mage, just tends to just whack people to death. Also, moving 1 tile up here. Not moving 1 tile up, for some reason, causes the Swordswoman to attack you from the side with a chance of stunning you. Moving up 1 tile doesn't, for some reason. I really don't understand why. Like, she's more than capable of attacking you from the side, it just doesn't do it.
Was it good for you?
Also, many shoutouts to this character's voice actor. It is really well done how it's half sarcastic. So yeah, case in point, she's attacking us from the front instead of the side, meaning that there's no chance of stunning, and we'll just kill her in response. So also something I haven't noted yet is just how clean the sprite work in this game is. Like, the animations are really fluent, as you can see in both the victory and attack animations. And you might have seen these characters jump up in the style of Final Fantasy Tactics. And you might be thinking, that's kind of a copy, isn't it? Well, this game was actually co-developed by Square Enix and Tri-Ace. Square Enix also notably responsible for Final Fantasy Tactics. So you can kind of guess where it comes from. Are we dead? We are not dead. Amazing. I have never, ever in my life seen that guy crit. Very interesting. Doesn't matter. We lived. We're good.
Always the weak of blood.
This is kind of a range. We are not guaranteed to kill this enemy with full thread, but getting that actually saves us 5 seconds on the animation, which we did. Channeling spells takes a bit of time. Hitting an enemy really doesn't.
The battle is won.
So yeah, in this fight specifically, we actually choose to not attack with 2 at a time. That has 2 reasons. So the first of which is Frigid Damsel is slightly faster to start the enemy despawn. And the second one is the enemies can evade. We haven't seen it happen, luckily. But it's just annoying when it happens and you have no spells. It's like really awkward. So yeah, that was chapter 3. Kind of blazing through things. Oh wow, that time is like really good. This might legitimately be world record pace, and the reason it's world record pace is because A, I found a bunch of new strats, and B, my PB lost 2 minutes in chapter 4 by enemies being kind of dumb. Enemies in chapter 4 are the most random idiots I've seen in my life in video games. For some reason, most of their patterns just do not make sense. No way to manipulate, no way to change anything. It's just hoping for a good seed and going with it. But first, more shopping. Actually going to go through 2 cutscenes before saving again. I actually do want the shopping menu behind me. Not needing to shop again after needing the reset is kind of a boon. And this is also one of the few fights where deaths and very, very slow patterns could happen very easily. So we're just going to need to hope for the best. So in case everything just keeps going wrong multiple times in a row, I have prepared a backup state, or well, a backup save file that happens right after the fight. So should this fail too many times, I'll just explain what happens and I'll go from there. Just make sure that's everything. Yes, okay. There's so much going on in that menu that I really just need to focus and get through it. Also to note, missing most items really isn't that bad. We use 2 of them for safety, but there's a few that when we forget them, it's just kind of a dead run. Okay, 207, 203 defensive stats. That means we do have everything. So the reason we taught Sacred Javelin was really just to use it as a field spell. We're going to target a wall, but not really. So the field spells have a certain range. So everything except for Sacred Javelin and Dark Savior is a plus sign. But Dark Savior and Sacred Javelin, I should really know. Yeah, wait, it's Dark Savior and Sacred Javelin. The pluses are 5 long instead of 3 long, so we do have 1 extra range in order to hit the enemies there. This pattern could be iffy. Let's hope for the best. As long as Lisalada survives, everything is fine. All right, Lisa Lotta lives. That's amazing. So we're going to kill this swordsman in retaliation. So the one bad thing that can happen is that this swordsman either evades or stuns us. Good thing none of those happened. So after this, the archer is most likely to attack us, and if he attacks us, we get to retaliate because he cannot stun for being an archer, and we'll level up from that. So we'll have full health once it is dead. This, I think, is also the only point in the run where we really do abuse the level up. Also, this is one of the fights where you do not care about the sin reward. The Realm Stalker in the next fight really isn't in our way.
Was it good for you?
So now we're going to enter the big laundry, and we're going to see what the next few enemies are going to do. There's a small chance that the attempt still dies here, but it is very, very unlikely. All right, we got the normal pattern so far. Pretty good. So yeah, most of this route, once we get instant death, is going to revolve around properly using either instant death or the paralysis and blasting through everything. Now, the really interesting part is that because enemies can avoid, at any point, your run is just in danger of either needing to improvise really hard or kind of just making sure you can actually finish the fight, really. I have not seen this pattern before. That's interesting. But we should be fine. Yeah, the setup of this fight actually changed a lot over time. So this fight right now, optimally, is a 4-turn. So before I started rerouting this game, this fight actually used to last about 20 minutes on its own, where it took, I think, 8 or 9 turns. Like, it's really crazy how much this fight in particular has changed. I think it's gone through 7 or 8 iterations over time, done by both me, Huang, and Dragon Darch. Huang's sadly the only non-runner of the game. He is a really prominent router, though. He knows a lot about this game and the inner workings, and is also the cause of half of this route. So now this vampire, what is he going to do? All right, he's doing the normal thing. Perfect. So this vampire now uses Dark Savior, and what that does is that it has a chance of silence. Now, silence disables all spells and abilities, so that's why we bought the free silence check earlier. So if any of our mages are stunned, they become kind of useless. And if Wilfred gets stunned, he just loses all of his utility. That's a weird pattern, but I think I'm good. Do I reach? I do reach. Perfect. Okay. Yeah, this is the order. So well, in the first 3 turns, what we try to do is we kill every living thing, since sudden death doesn't kill the undead or, you know, inanimate objects instantly, which kind of makes sense. So in the first 3 turns, which are the turns where instant death is active, we try to kill every human, and from there we work through the other 2 remaining enemies. Hopefully 2. We should be more than able to kill the vampire.
Yo, Sniper,
Yes, Captain?
can we interrupt this game for a minute?
Oh, we could.
Yeah, this is a great timing for another ad. I'm sorry.
And man, as said before, Twitch Prime is a wonder, is a wondrous thing.
There's also other options we don't condone.
That's one too far, Captain. Easy there.
Tidal wave.
So yeah, normally the swordsman there would be in range of Loxwell to kill, meaning that we might reinforce Reinhilde, which basically boosts her attack by 50%. It saves a very little amount of time on this fight, but it's not necessary. stakes an extra Soul Crush. See, Reinhilde is barely in range of this Archer normally. We would always kill this with Reinhilde. Now, Reinhilde has a lower chance to proc the instant death, but usually it goes through. And Reinhilde one-shotting things is probably one of the most iconic things about this run. In the next fight, we'll be getting an item that kind of makes her even more idiotically strong than she already is. But just to put into perspective of how strong Reinhilde is, her base damage multipliers are at least 25% higher than the average character. Not only that, but her Soul Crush is on the upper echelon as well. And it's a grandma wielding a ballista, like, bruh. It's really crazy, like how? Thing must weigh like 40, 50 kilos. That's one of those grandmas where you're like scared to say no to cookies, you know? That's not the right order. Let's do it this way.
Might reinforced.
And this is also something like where the quick decision making comes in. You actually need to make sure that we engage them in the right order. And since his armor was guard reinforced, I actually needed to make sure to use the might reinforce on Reinhilde first. Yeah, that freeze is kind of fantastic. So what the armor can do is block random non-magical attacks. And when he blocks it, he'll keep up his shield, but you also won't be building up towards the Soul Crush meter. Now, once they get hit by magic, they actually can't reactivate the shield for like a second. So we channel the spells slightly apart to give our other attackers a window where the armor cannot block, thus guaranteeing me a Soul Crush. This is also where words are really hard right now. What is this? But yeah,
Not a dictionary.
I'll pass. But little things like that is what makes the combat system of this game so fantastic to run with. Like, there's so many small optimizations you can make in this speed game. There's probably a few of them that I haven't even seen yet. In just like despawn timers, Soul Crush orders, like all that good stuff. There's just so many things that keep me pulling back. Like if it weren't for this combat system, I don't even think I would have pushed this below 2 hours. We're doing really good on time. Big fan. Actually going to save, because if I lose next fight, I don't know how I would, but I'm just going to assume that there is a possibility. I would not like to go through this fight again, ever. Like, we got a really good pattern here, so we're going to keep it going. Yeah, he was ready for some jams. Coming up next in this fight is the best tune in the game, in my opinion. It's not by a long shot, but it really just is the best. This seems right, but yeah, okay, this is right. This is why I have notes. Like, it's really easy to forget one bit of deployment, and if you have them in the wrong order, it's almost impossible to do it properly. So we'll be saying goodbye to Loxwell here. Pluming Loxwell turns out to be really fast, even compared to Lisa Lotta.
Unto me thy power yield.
This fight also notably annoying in actual attempts. In world record attempts, we actually don't save at all. So if at any point something goes wrong, it's just over. And what that kind of has some implication on both the randomness of the enemies and just execution in general. So what we hope that happens here is one of the more luck-based things. So this golem always moves the same way. This swordsman doesn't, but he's going the way we don't want him to. But the archer assists, so we're fine. So that swordsman can do either one of two things. One of which is what he did here, is walk towards the enemy we are meant to protect, which is Fiona. And the other thing it can do is walk backwards. If it walks backwards, it actually saves us a minute. If the Archeress moves forward, it's also bad. If they both move forward, it's practically a reset. It's about 2.5 minutes just gone by straight up luck,
Always the weak of blood.
which is one of the things you just deal with. Eventually, you'll get the mindset, and you really don't care about just getting a bad pattern anymore. It's just part of the game. But the reason we want them set up in this specific manner is, you'll see it in a bit. That is the wrong spell reinforce. Nice. This is one of the missed inputs that I really don't care that much about, so I kind of dropped the right input there. And not all enemies might end up being paralyzed here, but shouldn't be that big of a problem. Wolfert's magic stat is really high as is. Okay, yeah, we're targeting both. So by using Sacred Javelin as a field spell and having him spell reinforced, he's actually able to kill both the Golem and the Archers in one go. Speeding up this fight by a lot. So ideally, the Swordsman would be in the back. Now he's going to attack Fiona slowly and die on the backswing. Now, if the Archer would move forward and the Swordsman wouldn't, Loxel would be one tile further down, and nothing much would have changed. But yeah, he also... Oh boy. My DS is almost empty. This could be interesting. Charger strats. Knew it was a good idea to have one. Okay, we're good. We're good. It's all fine. Yeah, from here it's just basically a race to the end. Also very notable that Darius should de-stalk here. So by stalking Darius, he's actually invisible to all the enemies, meaning that they just ignore him. However, if you enter the aggro range stalk and a rescue target is in the vicinity of the enemy, once it is aggroed, it will actually target that rescue target, making the mission extremely hard. So it's very, very mandatory to de-stalk Darius on this fight. It has cost me runs before.
Take this.
But this Realm Stalker right here is what causes the issue every now and then. Now, because we are plumed, we don't really care about it that much, since it's not the strongest compared to our guy with 6,600 magic. Just casual 6,500, while you normally have about 700. It's not too bad. Yeah, a lot of the things that changed over time is the characters we plumed. So for example, back in the day, we used to plume Lisalada and use a kind of similar route. It's been like too long for me to remember, so wish I could say a bit more about it, but so be it.
Take this.
Yeah, the main reason why we plume different characters is two reasons. Now, on the final fight, those characters will show up and be in a different position depending on who you plume. The second reason, more importantly, is that Lisalada has a higher base level than Loxwell does, because we are basically under level for most of the game. And being under leveled gives us a few advantages. Well, being under level gives us a few disadvantages, mainly the slight variation in damage output. I don't think it matters anywhere, but it might. But the most important thing is the hit chance that goes up the more levels you have. So it's just more consistent in general. Just in case the enemy avoids one attack from Fiona in the upcoming few turns, we're actually going to kill this. We're actually going to dash Lisalada forward a bit, so if everything goes wrong, she can just attack the enemy before Fiona can, saving us a little bit of time.
I long for the peace of the shadows.
Take this.
Yeah, this is the enemy that gets kind of annoying. if he would have walked backwards, he would have started walking back this turn. And the next turn, he would be in range of Fiona. But before he even can attack Fiona, we are actually able to kill him with Lisa Lotta on instant death. Also, shoutouts to these animations. Fiona's animations in general are just really fluent. Like, I know I'm really happy with the art style of this game in general, but that one is just chef's kiss, you know?
Take this.
Yeah, should the enemy avoid anything now, we are just able to attack him next turn. Do the last bit of damage. So, there's not really much going on except some fighting between AI. So, if Captain has anything to say, then this is the moment.
This is no. I do not have received any donations, sadly, because well, the next game is coming up in less than an hour, and you can choose if you want the character for it. Contra Rebirth character choice is gonna be, well, Nude Plisken is in the lead with €5, but that's it, only €5. It's easy, it's almost free to grab, only €6, and you can make the character either Bill Reiser or BR-W9. I mean, what are those names? I'm gonna have to ask Linka soon. Well, that's it for now, I guess.
That's fine. Yeah, you saw me move forward there, and this is exactly why.
But not much.
This enemy has a pretty decent chance to evade Fiona's because she doesn't really have the best of hit chance. But yeah, this fight gave us the Ophinis Bow, and the Ophinis Bow is a very interesting weapon. Well, you'll see what it does next fight, but combined with instant death, it does some funny things. Yeah, while things are transpiring, a complete war started out. The few princes in the continent are just waging war against each other, going to slaughter each other out. And we're going to join one of the princes' side by the characters we met in the last bit, or the last chapter, really. 2 Mithril Tiara and 1 Dark Savior. It's many notably hard to remember, even though there's really not much going on. This is Reinhild. Right. This is the other, like, really long menu, so I'm actually going to go for some silence here. Wait, this is the wrong one. This is the Shackle of Sin. So we basically changed all of the equipments. We gave a few of the allies some extra skills, and we put Reinhild's last attack first. And the reason we set that attack first specifically is because it cannot be blocked, meaning that we'll get some value out of it later. Also did equip the Ophinis Bow, and I already was mentioning things acting up weirdly with instant death. This is where it starts becoming kind of ridiculous. So everyone kind of has a pretty high magic stat by now. Reinhilda, by virtue of being a lot higher than the rest of our party. Darius kind of doesn't have anything going for him. He's just there. Wilfred has the stat growth of a mage, and Reinhilda is just gonna have all the magic stat increasing items put into her. So I'm hoping this hits on the first go, but It's not a guarantee, but it's pretty close. So yeah, that's an instant full sin bar. So the Optimus Bow is meant to deal double damage. Now, the way it inflicts double damage is that for every damage value you deal to an opponent, that value is copied and applied again. And with the way instant death works, by reducing the health bar to 0, it deals that amount of damage. So we basically deal the entire health bar twice instantly, meaning we get 100 sin from an enemy with just a single attack. And discovering that kind of broke the game in half. It just made sin routing a joke mostly.
Frigid damsel. Was it good for you?
So this last fight, these last few fights, a lot of them just come down to applying instant death correctly, as you've seen before. And the sin routing actually became even more interesting once we found the Optimus Bow thing. So there's a lot easier to get to 200% sin now, and that gets us access to a few really good rewards for the final few fights. So we do kind of just make the most of it. Most of the items we get, we actually use for the Valkyrie fight specifically at the very end of the game. A case in point for not getting the range here. You're more than likely to get it, and if anything, you miss and you still have the second attack to do things. So this character is the only one that's really likely to evade attacks every now and then, but she didn't. It's over. That was a really good fight. Went fairly well.
Behind any great house,
But yeah, again, mashing A skips the voice line at the end of a fight. It skips every voice line, I do think, aside from the ones that play in the background of the overworld. Which there are not many of, to note. Yeah, we've basically been drafted for the army. Killing the enemies there was just a test if we were good enough. And now we're traveling with the prince. And we're going to a place that's overrun by demons that's nearby the castle, just so we can, you know, do our crusade without having our castle destroyed. There actually isn't any menuing here anymore. Right, I changed that. Nice. But this is the fight where last attempt I did in a no reset run. I hit the wrong ability, didn't use instant death, but I used the mass paralysis ability, and oh boy, that wasted me 8 minutes. So yeah, this game is rough.
Spell reinforced.
It's also why I'm saving as much. Like, if a single input can cost me 8 minutes, then the safety is just way worth it. And this is why we set the first attack as the unblockable. These lizards can actually block all your shots. It's unlikely, but if it happens, it's really frustrating. Yeah, also a thing that I did on Fight 5-1 is, before I started, I set counterattack on Auguste. Now, when Auguste gets counterattacked and you get the button press, it will say stand and fight. Now, when you hear that, I would like everyone in chat to put stand and fight in all caps exactly once in the chat for every time they hear it. I'm also kind of sorry to the mods, but, you know, you gotta give Twitch chat something. That's why we're here. So yeah, this is the end of Auguste. We're killing the old man.
Gather o'er the battlefield. Unto me thy power yield.
And pluming him here makes it so that a single counterattack is most of the time enough to kill an armor in one go. We also kind of interrupt him by playing another voice line, but you know. That's what you get for saying too much.
No Sniper.
Hey, Captain,
You know what's nice?
tell me.
Twitch Prime.
Oh, boy.
You know why it's nice?
Do you mean that if you sub with Twitch Prime, you don't have to pay anything?
Exactly.
Wow, incredible.
You don't have to pay anything, you don't get ads, you get cool emotes, and you support BSG and ESA.
Incredible. And that for the low, low price of absolutely nothing?
If you have Twitch Prime, nothing, zero, nilch, nada.
Amazing. There we go, boys. Stand and fight. We did get the one shot, so it's one stand and fight less, but, you know, it's a lot faster. It's about somewhere between a 1 and 8 and 1 and 10 to not get it, so it's just unlucky. We'll get there. It's also the second to last plume we use in the route. They're really fast, but pluming too often actually gets you a bad ending, where the gods basically just smite you down and it's a game over. Now, you could technically beat the gods if you use a New Game Plus file and use a lot of level up and stat boosting items, but the ending really doesn't change. If you win or die, it's just a game over. Now this bird right here, this Seleno, is the single stupidest time waste in the entire game. So, if this bird, by some miraculous reason, evaded, I would have actually had to walk around with Auguste, waste myself 2.5 turns, and lose 2.5 minutes, just because RNG said, you're not running this game today. It's really rough. Good thing it didn't happen. So, second armor coming up, so get your stand and fights ready.
That's one more foe.
How did chat do, Captain?
Stand and fight, stand and fight, stand and fight.
That's the Twitch chat I know and
Stand and
love.
fight.
Good job, Twitch
Stand
chat.
and fight.
Can we just go back
Stand
to the?
and fight.
Can we just go back to the Twitch
Stand
Prime
and
thing?
fight.
Twitch Prime was a lot more enjoyable to
Stand
meme
and
about.
You know what?
Stand and fight. Oh boy.
To be fair, I'd like more sit and run.
I mean, you might. But yeah, that demon there actually has a small chance to drop Raptor Claws, which are an Auguste exclusive item. We didn't get it, but we actually do kind of kill off Auguste at this fight, so getting Raptor Claws is kind of insult to injury. It's not a bad item. So this is the, coming up next is the second worst fight in the game, right after 4-1. It has actually been rerouted multiple times, but every time we rerouted the game, it turned out that the old route was the backup. So we're basically just stacking backups on top of each other as we go. It's gone to like 4 layers of backups. Now, there are always ways where you just have to reset instantly. There's a few patterns that straight up kill you. There's a few patterns that freeze both your characters. Just a lot of bad stuff. But, you know, we're going to just knock on wood, hope nothing really bad happens, and we're just going to get this first try because this is a no justice stream. That is not the right input. This fight has a bunch of sorceresses, and these sorceresses have access to a Grand Magic, which is their own Soul Crush. Now, if that happens, there is no way for us to survive it, so we're just gonna hope for the best and, you know, not die like a champion. There's a lot of things we tried to not get attacked by as many sorcerers as possible. It just didn't work out most of the time. Please hit. Oh my goodness. I can't believe we actually have to do this the old-fashioned way. Unbelievable. So usually Renhilda gets the kill shot here. If we don't, we just have to attack her normally. Get about 100 sin, which is boosted by 20% due to Wilfred's item. So this is about enough. Should get us 107, 108. The Shackle Sin is one of the items we equipped at the start of the chapter. Huh, only 98. Should still be fine. There's a lot of leniency with the route changes, so I'm not really that worried. The goal is 300, and we can get up to 600 if we're lucky enough, so. No fear in this dojo. Again, second option to hit the one shot. Okay, there goes all our worries about Sin. If Reinhilda misses both, it gets kind of dicey, but this one is a lot more likely to hit than the previous one. So now we just sit there and pray and hope that this sorceress doesn't do any dumb things. That's a new pattern, but it isn't dumb. I'll take it. Please be Dark Savior. All right, we're good, I think. Silence on Wilfred is a non-factor. Yeah, we're good. Okay. So there's a few things that sorcerers can do. One of which is the Dark Savior, as we've seen. That's only bad when Reinhilda gets hit. The other bad thing is that multiple characters get frozen by a Frigid Damsel. And the third bad thing, which is very, very rare, is that she steps down from her current position, which puts her in range of Lysalata. And that puts Lysalata in danger on a Grand Magic. So we're kind of just praying for a good pattern here. And we're going to have to do that for the next few turns. But yeah, this is looking pretty fine. Okay, that's the other last thing I was really worried about. So this warrior has a chance to either attack you from the front or the side. I have no idea what causes it or why it, or even how it gets manipulated. But if it attacks you from the side and stuns, we actually have to revert back to the old pattern and go from there. As it turns out, we're lucky. So we should be able to show the pattern that I found out this, I think it was this Monday or this Tuesday. So with this sorceress out of the way, we can actually kill the one on top of the mountain, which I didn't do before because there was no way they lured the other enemies in range. As it turns out, it's not that hard to do if you move Darius forward. So we can now not fear the Grand Magic from the sorceress anymore and just be fine regardless. Just whatever. Should be enough sin. So if Darius would have gotten frozen, Reinhilda would have gotten silenced, or Wilfred would have gotten frozen. We would actually have to use the old strat, which put Lysalata in danger of getting hit by Grand Magic, as well as Reinhilda.
What's the old strat? Stand and fight?
If only. We do stand and we do fight, but that's not really what happens here, so...
What more does someone want? Anyone want, even?
Hey man, I would like some Twitch Prime.
You heard it here first, chat. We want Twitch Prime. Give us all your Twitch Prime subs.
But yeah, no, honestly, like we're memeing a lot on Twitch Prime, but it actually is a really good way to support both ESA and BSG. It basically makes it so that we can keep the events going as much as we do. So by dashing Darius to this spot, I found out this will actually cause these specific two enemies to walk forward. And this is the best pattern because he's not attacking us, meaning we don't get a full combat animation. We just go through a spell animation instead, which is a lot faster. See if I luck out on the shot on the swordswoman. I didn't get it on the first, so let's hope we hit it this time. It's not really relevant, but it saves a little bit of time. Ah, man. Unlucky. Yeah, again, it's not really that relevant. We can get Lisa-Lot in range instead and just kill them both with magic. It's very slightly slower. So, but when this happens, it's still slightly faster than the original strat by a few seconds. So optimally, when this strat functions as intended, it saves about 30 to 35 seconds. Which is, considering how tight this game is, quite a lot. And I think that might maybe be the last discovery I make in this game. I don't know, there's always room for improvement. It's a speedrun after all. Actually, not sure about my sin, so I'm gonna get a little bit extra. And that was the hardest fight in the game. The hardest two fights in the game, at least. So from here, it is, aside from either an execution mistake or really bad luck on one of the fights, this should be smooth sailing. Yeah, the only reason we want 300 sin is to not get a Realm Stalker on the next fight.
Can I interrupt you once more, Sniper?
Yes, you can.
All right, we've got a €50 donation from Eugenji. Thank you. And you know what? He wants us to explain this Twitch Prime thing again. He doesn't get it. Well, let me explain to you. You see, some people have Amazon Prime, and you can connect it with Twitch, which will give you Twitch Prime. Or if you're, you can directly sub to Twitch, and you pay for it. If you have it through Amazon, it's free! Nothing, zilch, nada. You press the button which says subscribe, then you press the button subscribe with Twitch Prime. And you got a sub on the channel. You get all them cool emotes to use. You don't get ads. I mean, come on, who doesn't like to not get ads? That's a double negative for you.
Really is. But a double negative is positive. And exactly. So is Twitch Prime.
Exactly.
Oh my god.
So there it is. Twitch Prime equals no ads.
Spell reinforced.
And shoutouts to the captain. I was told he would like to host this run to begin with. I didn't expect it to go down to a gigantic sellout stream, but here we are.
Shoutouts to Twitch Prime.
Shoutouts to Twitch Prime. Okay, so with a little bit of luck, he skips this fight. I don't know why it happens, but if he hits start on a certain frame when he starts his attack, it'll actually just skip the entire animation altogether. I really should be putting some research into this because it's only been happening recently, but it's kind of odd. We basically have everything stunned aside from the leader, which is the only target we need to kill. So by moving Darius forward the extra mile by dashing twice, we actually do get the aggro on here and put him in a very specific position on the next turn. And that allows us to swap places with him by using the transposition we got earlier in the run. And by that, we can basically kill him in a single fight. So now by moving Reinhilde to a specific spot right there, and with right there, I mean right over here. Wait, this is, yeah, okay, this is right. He will actually be targeting Reinhilde because that is the one enemy that can't retaliate his attacks. So he'll move to a spot for which we can transpose, and then we'll just surround him and kill him. And Langray was nice. So Langray, which is the prince that we're protecting, can sometimes just kill this enemy and waste a bunch of time on death animations, but good thing he didn't. Good on you, Langray. Thanks for not wasting my time. So if you still aren't convinced by how strong Reinhilde is, this should be a good showing for you if I get lucky enough. This is Reinhilde at max power. Didn't get all of the drops. If you get an extra drop on top of this, you actually get to kill him without using a Soul Crush. Just absolutely pelt him to death. This is why Grandma's wearing or wielding ballistas even is the most overpowered thing to ever be in a video game. It is absolutely insane how strong she is. I was mentioning getting really bad luck in Fight 6. It's not too unlikely you'll get it, but the next 3 fights will all happen in a row without an option to save. So I'm just going to play it safe here. Make the second to last save in the game, even. His in-game time is also like pretty solid so far, considering all the saves I do. Really happy with this. Wait, this fight also has one of the most forgettable things in the game. Now you might be thinking, well, instant death, that's kind of hard to forget. But since this has kind of become a stealth mission instead of an item exploit, you really just want to get to the enemy as fast as possible. And forgetting to do instant death is kind of awkward, since all we need to do is kill the leader. But if you're at the leader but don't have instant death active, it kind of makes you look like a fool, really. I'm not saying this because I did this at a marathon before or anything. It's like totally not a self-call out. Trust me. Please. Yeah, that leader, the only one non-paralyzed, is the one we're trying to kill here. And for that, we're going to put Darius's his magic stat to as high as we can get it in order to get the range. You'll have at least 4 attacks to get it, so it'll be very weird if I wouldn't get it here. Like, missing 1 is rare as is. Missing the other 3 is kind of insane, really. Yeah, due to us stalking, none of the enemies actually see us as well. So we just basically get to sneak by everything once it is deparalyzed. Is that a word? I'll make it a word for now. Just for convenience's sake.
How about cured?
Cured works. Yeah, the reason we hold here, something I actually haven't had the time to explain, weirdly enough, is the way you recover AP is you'll regenerate 10 a turn. If you do not take a single action, you actually recover 20 per turn. So by spacing out the turns correctly, we can actually get back up to 80 in order to use Veyer's Warcry right after the Mass Paralysis and Gleipnir's Bonds. So this sorcerer will move forward. We'll get behind him and we'll kill him after activating instant death, because I have improved since the last few marathons I did, where I totally didn't forget to do this. And he is dead. Stealth mission complete. But yeah, normally we forced Loxwell forward, and we kind of sacrificed him, and we would have plumed him over the wall where the Realm Stalker was walking earlier, and that was the way we got to the leader. It was a really neat strat found by the SDA boys. This is Darius Reinhild. So we kind of just split the party into two in this fight, and that has to do with spawn points. So the other two are at the other side of the castle gardens, I guess. And this is another kill the leader mission. Now, this leader is a lot more annoying to kill than the previous one. And the reason for that is that we don't have instant death, we don't have anything else to work with but our own powers. And if we don't get the Soul Crush here, it could become kind of awkward, but we should be fine overall. So the plan is to get behind her with Darius, stun her, and then use the attacks of both Reinhild and Darius to actually kill her. Okay, we should be good from here. Okay, we might get her in one go here. That would be really lucky. It's actually pretty rare to get her in one go because you need to get both Soul Crushes right and you need to get a good amount of gems. Yeah, as you can see, we barely got it. We barely didn't have it, but she's still stunned. So we do have the second way to go around. If she somehow survives this and isn't stunned, there's a small chance she has to kill. She actually kills Darius with a crit. And when she does that, it's kind of rip, but that's kind of never happened. That only happens when I fill the combo on Darius. So we didn't. We're good. We got it the second time around, which is not too bad. It's the expected pattern, really. But yeah, we have kind of almost finished our conquest to the castle, and we're trying to kill the other prince here real quick. But before that, we're going to remove Darius from our party because he really has no use in this fight. Big Fs to Darius. And I'm sorry for falling quiet. This intro of this song is really good. Yeah, the goal of this fight is to Plume Reinhilda and one-shot the Prince, which is kind of guaranteed. Now, there's one bad thing that can happen here, which is if both Realm Stalkers are not paralyzed, which is not too uncommon, but it's just a very small time loss. Seems like both are paralyzed, though, so we do get a free pass. So if we didn't paralyze the Realm Stalkers, I would actually have to Plume on this turn, meaning we'd get an extra poison animation on top of everything else. But since it didn't happen, we can just casually walk forward, Plume on this turn, only have one tick of poison, and kill Kristoff on the following turn.
Feather o'er the battlefield. Unto me thy power yield.
So yeah, a person in my Twitch chat once pointed out that his grandma kind of gets as powerful as she does when he rejects her cookies. So I'd like to think that Kristoff is just the one not buying her cookies. Like, come on, man, how do you say no to cookies? What is wrong with you? So yeah, that's the fight. You don't mess with grandmas. That is a really big lesson. You really don't, and you really shouldn't. So yeah, he always drops a power bangle, which slightly increases the power of a certain character. So now the plume that Wilfred had from the very start actually we have achieved enough bloodshed to transform it into the Angel Slayer, which is the weapon that can harm the Valkyrie's mortal form. And we'll be using that to slay the Valkyrie ourselves and just get our revenge on her. And since I'm not on PB base, I'm just going to show you this cutscene because this looks really good for a DS game. Like, I gotta just tell you, this is 240p, and it really is really well done. Like, big shoutouts for whoever animated this. Like, I have enough time. I think I can lose the fight 3 or 4 times and still go underestimate. So this one is just really good in general. No deaths, no execution mistakes that are run killing. This is pretty good overall. Yes, that's the thing. I sometimes forget to equip the S-Stock on Darius, which, if we are super unlucky and low roll, almost every single attack cannot kill the Valkyrie. I missed it once, ran the calcs, and it is astronomically unlikely to happen without the S-Stock, mostly due to having the third attack. But this is the final boss of the game on this ending. What she's kind of trying to do is show us the sacrifices we've made to repent our sins. So every character that is fighting against us is an ally we have sacrificed throughout the run. Now, you can see Loxel being really close to the Valkyrie. That was a big problem in the old route, since he is in range to heal the Valkyrie if you mess up. Now, since we are really good, we are God gamers, we're not going to mess up. But back in the day, before we routed this game optimally, there was a chance that the Valkyrie survived, meaning your run was basically dead at the very end of the game, which is really not the best of propositions. So we kind of decided against it. But yeah, in essence, what this fight mostly does is it shows Wilfred's true power after every single boost you can imagine. He'll have a might push and he'll have a might reinforce. And he'll have a Volley's Awakening on top of that. So this is just boosting up for the final fight and one-shotting the Valkyrie. The fight itself, bar execution mistakes, is guaranteed, since we do start the combo from behind. But any movement here I mess up will completely mess that setup, and there is no way to back up. So I'm actually going to rotate the camera to make sure that all my movement is correct. Right.
Take this.
I sometimes forget that we actually use an extra spell potion in the safety strat, and that kind of messes up the menu. It's one tick further down than it usually is. Yeah, since Darius is stalked, there really isn't any way for Loxel to engage on anyone because nobody is in range. So we're now just going to set up. You can see Wilfred's stats. He is practically as strong as a Plume character. And just for good measure, we're going to sap guard on the Valkyrie just to reduce her armor and magic resistance by 25%. Then we'll engage direct with Darius, giving another 20% extra power. And here we go. Final fight of the game. Tech, get ready on time. The time will not be at the very end of the fight. The time will be when the screen fades to black once we are finished. This should barely be sub 150, which is insane. Do get the weave 2 attacks in between, do get some extra attacks, that's amazing. If we wouldn't have gotten the window, we could still just attack her after this Soul Crush, but Wilfred's third attack is slightly weaker, so we're missing out on a very low amount of damage. So attacking with this Soul Crush should be the last of it. Yep, and that was the end of the game. That was really good. That was honestly a really solid run. Now, I'll let you know when it is. So after we click this away, we'll have the victory screen. Once that completely fades to black, that is when time is. And time. That was solid. Like, that was actually really good. Damn. 149. So, just for reference, the second best time on the leaderboard is a 158.29, I think. So you can see how much the route has changed over time. And now we basically get banished, since this was only the Valkyrie's mortal form, reminding that we are, after all, not capable of killing a god at all. And we're just slowly going to get banished to the equivalent of hell. But what I'd like to do is just keep it on. There we go. I skipped the text box. But he said there's nothing left to suffer, which is kind of true for speedrunning. There is never a time that's good enough. But I think up next is Captain.
I'm just gonna leave you hanging.
Okay.
What is up? Nah,
Fine.
just kidding,
Twitch
just
Prime.
kidding.
Good. Anyway.
Up next is Contra Rebirth by Linkenmeister.
Thank you all for watching. I'm really happy to have done this run again and actually go well under estimate for once. If you are interested in either running this game or looking into routing, doing anything you'd like, there is the Discord for this game. It is linked on the speedrun.com page in the right underneath guides, I do think. So yeah, I'm waiting for a challenger. Let's just say that. Yeah, that's honestly it.
Shoutouts to sellouts.
Shoutouts to
Thank
sellouts
you.
and shoutouts to Twitch Prime.
All right, that's been it. Thank you very much, Sniperwave. Thank you for the fun. Thank you for the puns. Thank you for Twitch and Glitch Prime. Up next, we have Contra Rebirth by Linkenmeister. But first, we're gonna go into a small intermission, and maybe you'll see some ads. Who knows? See you soon.